Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. I hope everyone had a great Sunday yesterday. A Sunday was the first full Sunday slate of the NFL season. For some, it was painful, like myself, being a New England Patriots fan, going out there and losing to the Raiders in week one after all the hype. And, last year they had a terrible season. I mean, they looked better than last year, but they still didn't look great. And you got there and you lose. And I think the Raiders are going to be a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think they could have won that game. And they didn't really show too much improvement. So that was kind of painful. And I'm sure anyone else's team who lost kind of feels the same way. Like, damn, here we go. And now we got another 16 weeks to go. But it is only week one. We got to remember that. And for some, it was great. And, your team's 1-0. You're feeling great going into the next 16 weeks or so of the NFL season. And you just got a full season ahead of you, and you're optimistic, and good for you guys. And so that's a great feeling to have. There's no doubt about that. Today, I'm reacting to 7 of the football games that I feel like, I kind of just want to talk about to you guys. I wish I could react to all of them, but I do have college here in a few hours I got to be at. So, but even still, I'm always producing content for you guys. Yeah, even I got to edit, post my short clips, my thumbnail, and do all of that. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, please make sure to do so as we're on the road to 100 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. I post daily for you guys no matter what. So it means the absolute world to me. And yeah, let's get into the first game I want to talk about here today, which was last night with the Ravens and the Bills, man. What a hell of a game last night. I made a short clip about it around like 12 a.m. or so last night. I was like, I got to get a clip out of this game. And I did. And one of the main things I talked about in that game was this was more about the Ravens' choke job than it was the Bills' heroics. Now, I'm not taking any credit away from the Bills because, man, was that an all-time performance or what? That was an all-time game right there. That was a great game. And the Bills seized every single opportunity they had. They took full advantage of it, and good for them because most teams can't do what they did last night. Even given the opportunities they were given, they could not pull off what the Bills did last night. So to all the Bills' credit, they had a great game. Of course, I wanted them to lose because Patriots fan, AFC East, they would have been all 0-1, but I can't take anything away from them, man. That was a great game, and they deserve to win that game. They played like the better team, and they took full advantage of the Ravens' mistakes. So, and meanwhile, they did force them to make the mistakes. I mean, Ed Oliver would play like that. He'll be an all-pro this year, So the Ravens, though, I said this yesterday, Lamar played amazing. That had nothing to do with Lamar. If anyone thinks the reason they lost was because of Lamar and the offense, even though Derrick Henry had the fumble and Oliver made a great play, that was on Derrick Henry. I don't think the play call was bad. I like the fact they ran the ball trying to get some timeout, and Derrick Henry was dominating the game. And Oliver just made a great play. It happens. And Derrick Henry, people were saying, Derrick Henry, that's all on Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had over 170 yards rushing and had the offense on his back for the most part, literally carrying players on his back and shit. So, you can't necessarily blame it all on Derrick Henry. I think a majority of it goes on that defense. And I said this yesterday as well, and I've been saying this for a long time. But them hiring Zach Orr, he may be the youngest defensive coordinator hiring in NFL history. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But if not, he's one of them. He's on the short list. And he had no experience. I think he was the linebackers coach for the Ravens for a couple of years, maybe. He'd still probably be playing if he didn't sustain a really bad neck injury for his career. If not, his career would have literally just ended maybe last year or a few years ago. So the Ravens should have went out and got a Vic Fangio. They were rumored to go get Vic Fangio last year. And then they hired Zach Orr. I was like, I don't like that for a team that is in a Super Bowl window right now. A team in a Super Bowl window should be hiring experienced coordinators, not someone who has no experience. I mean, they hired Mike McDonald, who was really young, who still is really young, but he was a coordinator in Michigan. And this guy had plenty of experience already as it is. Zach Orr had none. And you don't do that for a team who's in a Super Bowl window. The Eagles, in a Super Bowl window. They lost to the Buccaneers and had a major collapse at the end of the season a few years ago. Not last year, but the year before that. I think we all know what year I'm talking about. And their defense was horrendous. People were talking Sirianni getting fired and everything. They hired Vic Fangio. historic numbers on the defense the next year, and they go on to win the Super Bowl. And their defensive performance in the Super Bowl was legendary. They took Pat Mahomes and made him look like a 7th-round rookie quarterback. I mean, just literally no signs of life in that Chiefs offense. So that's what the Ravens should have went out and made a hire like that. And it's nothing against Zach Orr, but a team who's in a Super Bowl window, that hiring is not a good hiring. You need someone with experience. No one would blame you if you would have went out. I mean, I know he was the head coach at the time, but if they would have tried to get Eberflus or something, like I know Eberflus is a really bad head coach, but he's a really good defensive coordinator. Like when he was head coach of the Bears, their defense was great. They were just tone deaf on offense, but that's a story for another day. But I'm just saying, a hiring like someone who's experienced like that. Fangio, again, I live in a full Ravens household. I'm surrounded by Ravens fans everywhere I go. I live 20 minutes away from the stadium and the city and everything. So I'm surrounded by Ravens fans. And I can tell you right now, it feels like a low point for the Ravens. Now, we all know the Ravens are going to be in the playoffs, so they'll be fine. But what I mean by that is the same patterns are continuing here with the Baltimore Ravens. Excuse me. The same patterns are continuing. The choking leads, there's just open holes on defense. Just look well at Zach Orr last year. Their defense was terrible. And at the end of the year, they kind of had a resurgence. They played well. But it's back to the same shit now with the Ravens defense. Massive holes. The pass rush does not feel like they're living up to what they can be. They have really good pass rushers on that defense. I don't like Odafe Oweh. He had 10 sacks last year. I think 9 of them were all in garbage time. Literally, that's an actual statistic. When you watch a Ravens game, Odafe Oweh does not make an actual impact on a game that needs it. He does not make an impact at all. I don't like him at all. Now, not as a person, just as a player, though. I do not like him as a player. Extremely overrated as a player. But they have a good pass rush. And I'm not going to take points off him for last night because Josh Allen makes any pass rush just not look very good. He's extremely hard to bring down and put pressure on because it doesn't look like you're putting any pressure on him at all when you are. He's a massive quarterback. He moves well. We know he can run. He can throw on the run. Massive arm. He pretty much checks all the boxes there is to check. So it is extremely hard for a pass rush to look good against Josh Allen. So I'm not going to dock any points against him for that. The secondary was terrible last night against the Bills. They were awful. Jair Alexander, I said at the end of the game, and Collinsworth said the same thing. I heard him say it too, and a lot of people were saying the same. He should have just let Keon Coleman score in the first place. Whether or not the Ravens would have went to win that game, the chances were very low. The game was crazy. Whether or not they could have just gotten Hail Mary range, anything could have happened. I'd rather take the chances of that than Matt Prater kicking a chip shot field goal, which you know he's going to make to win the game. You already have everything going against you. Everything seems to be going wrong for you, and now it relies on a Matt Prater chip shot. You know he's going to hit it. And he did. So I would have rather have taken my chances with a Hail Mary or laterals than that, to be honest with you. I didn't like that play on Jair Alexander. Played bad. They had a few interceptions, though, that they should have had. Malachi Starks had one at the beginning of the game, the rookie. He should have had one. Who was the other one? I think it was Wouzier had one in his hands. He dropped it. He should have had that interception. So, stuff like that, you can't necessarily blame on Zach Orr or Harbaugh or anything, but you got to have those. And take those two away. The defense, blown coverages all night. It was bad to watch. The secondary was terrible. And I do not like the defensive play calling for the Ravens. And that comes down to Zach Orr's play calling. I didn't like it last year. There's too many rushing 3, rushing 4. Allen, you have to get to Josh Allen. Josh Allen, even though he's fixed his throwing mechanics and everything like that, he can still be sporadic. Josh Allen, Collinsworth and them said on the TV yesterday, I was saying it as well, to people and everything. He looked comfortable. He looked way too comfortable. When Josh Allen looks comfortable, you might as well send your team back in the locker room and on the plane. He looked too comfortable back there. That means you're not getting enough pressure on him. I don't see the Ravens ever go for an all-out blitz. They don't blitz. They don't do it. They don't do it enough. They got to sit there and say, okay, our secondary has great names, but it doesn't matter. You put any NFL quarterback, I don't care if it's Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, you give them time back there to throw, they're going to pick you apart. It doesn't matter who you have in your secondary. They're going to find the window to throw in it. And that's what Allen does, especially more than those guys. So, and I'll say this too for the Ravens. John Harbaugh, if they don't even get to the Super Bowl, has to go. The same patterns continue every year. I mentioned it at the beginning of talking about this game. Same patterns, same mistakes, one constant through it all, and it's John Harbaugh. You can go through as many offensive coordinators as you want. You can go through as many defensive coordinators as you want. They've been through multiple of them now in the Lamar era, and there's been one guy who's been the same, and the same patterns continue, and that's John Harbaugh. So they really have to look, if they lose a game like this in the playoffs, especially if I don't care how they lose in the wild card round. If you lose in the wild card or anything like that, it's time. It's time for him to go. It's time to reset. You have guys, I know a lot of people don't like hearing this, but maybe Bill Belichick. I think if you give him a team like the Ravens, he's going to say, okay, screw the GMing. This is a chance for me to really redeem my career. Trust me, Bill Belichick would leave University of North Carolina in quite literally like not even 2 seconds if the Ravens were to say, do you want this job? But you can't have but you can't be the GM. You just be the head coach. Be the head coach and coach this team. Bill Belichick would be on that plane right now. He could care less about North Carolina. He'd be there in 2 seconds. That could be a potential hiring for Baltimore next year. I know he doesn't look great right now with everything going on in North Carolina. They did win over the weekend, but I think that would be a great hiring for the Ravens. That defense would look so good. You know Bill Belichick can win a Super Bowl. He won 6 of them. I don't care if people think it was more Brady, it was more Belichick. I don't care. He was the head coach. That team won 6 Super Bowls. Man, you know he'd make the defense look great. So they were going to have to start. They're going to have to start looking in other directions for a head coach. They just are going to have to start doing so. So that's my thoughts on the Ravens and Bills. Again, the Bills played a great game, man. Josh Allen, what a game. The dude obviously is showing no signs of slowing down. I'm not saying that he was going to coming into the season anyway, but yeah, he looked like a man on a mission out there last night. Way to show off that MVP, Josh, because you really did last night. And the Bills receivers, they don't really have any big names at receiver. Keon Coleman looked like Randy Moss out there last night. What a game. Just what a game all around from that team, especially in the second half. Do worry about their defense a little bit, though. They did step up in the second half, but I think their defense could be a little inconsistent. But yeah, the Bills played a great game, and they're going to be contending for a Super Bowl. They want one, and they need one, so great game. That was an all-timer Sunday night game right there. Next game I want to talk about is the Steelers and Jets. I had that on my national coverage on my TV yesterday. What another game there. I mean, that was a great game. Justin Fields really had a resurgence game. It was great for his career and great for his standpoint. Aaron Glenn, I think, had a really good coaching game. It looks like he's really coached up this team. That team looked very, very excited and pumped up going into the game. The Steelers, the defense looked really bad. But I say this for anyone on week 1. I say, for anybody whose team looked really bad, the defense didn't look good, you're like, why didn't our offense look good? Our offense was supposed to be our spark and point, whatever team you are, anything. Week 1 is always strange. New Orleans, I said this, week 2, or the first 2 weeks of the year last year, New Orleans was climbing up to be the Super Bowl favorites. They were number 1 on those people's power rankings. And everyone's like, is New Orleans going to win the freaking Super Bowl? Dennis Allen, where they were talking about NBA Coach of the Year, man, what a way for him to resurrect his career. Dennis Allen's fired. Derek Carr's retired. Team's looking to pick at number 1 overall literally within a year. So things change. The first couple of weeks are very weird. You see bad teams playing great, and you see great teams just playing extremely mediocre. So, but you know what? After a few weeks, players, the team starts really playing together. It all comes together for these teams, especially the great teams. Kansas City's 0-1 right now, but that team's going to finish with at least 10 or 11 wins. It is going to happen. Even though they didn't look great on Friday, but that team's going to finish with 10 or 11 wins regardless. Bad teams are looking very good right now. I like Jacksonville, but Jacksonville is not going to play like that all year, the game they had yesterday. They're just not. Indianapolis, the same. Indianapolis looked like, dude, people were talking about Daniel Jones resurrecting his career. I think in 5 weeks it'll be different. So, let's give it again, I say everyone just relax. It's gonna be okay. If you know your team is good and you didn't win the first week, you're fine. Trust me. The first couple of weeks are very weird. Last year, the Commanders looked terrible the first couple of weeks. They went on to go be 12-5 and get to the NFC Championship. It's all good. But for the Steelers and Jets, back to that, the Jets showed serious signs of life, which they haven't showed in a long time. Justin Fields, I think the Jets are really hoping for Justin Fields to be their starting quarterback for a while. And he definitely could be, and he showed that he could be yesterday. If he can pass like that, that's been the whole thing with Fields. We know Fields' athleticism is on par with anyone in the league. I mean, the dude is one of the most athletic quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. I mean, his measurables are off the charts. It's him as a passer that's the issue. And if he can pass like he did yesterday, Justin Fields will be perfectly fine. And that team could be a season or two away from really contending to be a real playoff lock. I mean, they have bits and pieces everywhere, but they just feel a season or two away from being a real, playoff contender and stuff like that. I think this team could finish with maybe 7-ish wins. The problem is for the Jets, and what I felt like it was yesterday, is they're going to be competitive. They're going to be a competitive football team, but they're going to lose to teams that are just better than them. And unfortunately, there's a good bit of teams, especially in the AFC, that are just better than them. And they're just going to barely lose those games because the roster is just better than their roster. But they're going to be competitive, and I think that's all Jets fans could ask for, especially going into the season, is I think they got some real optimism. I think Aaron Glenn is going to be a decent coach. Justin Fields looks great. They have bits and pieces with Quinnen Williams. Will McDonald kind of had a little bit of a breakout game yesterday. He's been solid. Garrett Wilson, obviously. Breece Hall. What a game yesterday. A game he needed for a while. Justin Fields, obviously, looked very, very good. They had that play. Garrett Wilson got blown out by Jalen Ramsey at the end of the game. But, the Steelers defense, getting coached by Tomlin, you have experienced vets. It was going to catch up to them eventually. And it did. The Steelers defense definitely locked in the last quarter or so. They didn't have a great game. But Aaron Rodgers looked pretty vintage. Not all the way, because Aaron Rodgers is a statue. He can't move. I've been saying that about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is very different from Peyton Manning, very different from Breeze and Roethlisberger at the end of their careers, because his arm is still the same. I mean, his arm is amazing. He can't move. I mean, that's the thing about Roethlisberger and Manning and Breeze. Their arms were literally deteriorating off of their shoulders. I mean, they couldn't throw a football anymore. They said it was pretty much excruciating to throw a pass. So but it's not like that for him. He is just old. That's the thing about him, is just his age, and he unfortunately can't do anything about that, obviously. So he's kind of just stuck with it, obviously. But if the pass rush can't get to Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers is going to pick apart a defense, and that Steelers offense is going to look good. And the Steelers could legitimately finish 11 or 12 wins if that offensive line can hold up. But if the pass rush really gets to Rodgers, which the Jets have a good pass rush, but not a great pass rush. I like Williams, I like Will McDonald, but their pass rush is inconsistent. We seen it yesterday. They had times like Rodgers got crunched in the fourth quarter one play. I was debating. I was like, dude, is this guy even going to get up? He did, of course, and he went in and played the rest of the game, but Aaron Rodgers is tough. He's going to get up from hits like that. He's used to it. But when the Steelers play against a great pass rush, it's going to be tough for this team. It's going to be tough because Aaron Rodgers, we've seen when that pocket collapses on Rodgers, it's tough. It's going to be tough because he really, really struggles to move. He can roll out. He still looks great when he rolls out. But, man, like I said, when that pocket collapses on Rodgers, it's rough. But that offensive line held up for a little bit yesterday, had 130.7 passer rating, 4 touchdowns. Looked pretty vintage out there. He looked extremely good. A little bit of I don't want to say a slow start because he didn't really have a slow start, but if he can play like that, he's significantly better than Russell Wilson last year. I mean, and they ended up winning what? They were 10-7 last year. He's significantly better than him. I mean, am I talking about the Giants game? No, I'm not. But I'll say this for the Giants and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's just absolutely done. I think I'm going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but yeah, he's miles ahead of Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers isn't even in his prime anymore, but he's still playing good football. Russell Wilson isn't even viable at quarterback, so That's definitely an upgrade for the Steelers. And that offense, I think, looked really good. Arthur Smith is a creative offensive coordinator, so he'll make it work, even though they don't really have, the best receiving group in the world, but they're going to make it work. We know that. So, man, that was just a hell of a game. And I think for the Jets' future, they're praying Justin Fields keeps playing like he did yesterday. The Jets are going to have games where they're extremely competitive, and they're going to have games where they get blown out. That's going to be the Jets season. But they're going to show a lot more competitiveness and fight than they are getting blown out. That's all the Jets could ask for right now. I think this team could finish 7-10 and go into the all season with a lot of optimism, because there's bits and pieces there on contracts. They're young, fresh head coach. The Jets have a bright future, and the Steelers definitely have kind of a bright season ahead of them. I think they look good. The defense had a slow start, but week one, every unit looks like they're kind of starting off slow, because they are. These guys haven't played in a while, but they picked it up at the end. Jalen Ramsey with the big play. The last play of the game to Garrett Wilson, big hit stick there. So that was a great game. That really was a great game. I think both these teams are going to have a pretty good season, especially if the Steelers offense can keep playing like that. The defense is only going to get better, and the Steelers could be legitimate contenders if Aaron Rodgers keeps playing like that. So next game I'm going to talk about here, I'm going to talk about this briefly because this game didn't necessarily have the best looking score in the world, was the Colts and Dolphins. Now, I was with the Dolphins in my survivor pool, and obviously that was a mistake. They got killed, but I thought the Dolphins, I've been saying, I knew the collapse was coming this season, but I didn't think it would be in the first week. Healthy Tua, healthy Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, a little banged up. Tyreek Hill was a little banged up, but he was perfectly fine to play. Jalen Waddle was banged up, especially during the game. He had to come out and everything, but I thought this team would look way better than they did. I mean, they went out there and didn't even look like an NFL team. If Tua doesn't play well, the Dolphins aren't going to compete with anybody. I mean, they're really bad. They are really bad. I don't see anywhere where the Dolphins are going to win more than 4 games if Tua doesn't play well. And now you're talking about Tyreek getting traded. Mike McDaniel might be fired by week 8. I mean, we are legitimately talking a massive collapse here for the Dolphins. If they lose to New England next week, the Dolphins may already be packing it in. I mean, we may legitimately be talking about in a few weeks Mike McDaniel being gone from the Dolphins, because I like the Colts. Well, actually, I don't really like the Colts. I think this game is going to be a one-off for the Colts season. So I'm a full believer in that. They'll probably have some competitive games, but they're not going to look like this. Week 1, the Dolphins, people have question marks about them anyway. They fully showed their full colors here this game, and Tua looked terrible. I mean, he took some really bad hits too. That, Tua takes bad hits, he's eventually going to get hurt. Whether it's a concussion or an injury or whatever, you're going to get hurt. He's not the biggest quarterback in the world, obviously. And that's just a recipe for disaster, because even Tua playing at his worst is almost better than Zach Wilson playing at his best, or Quinn Ewers or whatever. So I just wanted to talk about that briefly, man. I mean, the Colts, what a game. And I took it. If you're asking why I took the Dolphins in my survivor pool week 1, also the Colts were 0-10-1 in their last 11 openers. So I was like, okay, healthy Dolphins team. Daniel Jones, already a bunch of controversy in the Indianapolis Colts offseason with Daniel Jones and Richardson and everything. People saw Kid can even keep his job throughout week 6. I was like, that's not a good sign for the Colts. Now, I still don't think it is. I think the Colts' true colors are going to start showing in a few weeks, and I think the Colts are going to look very bad by like week 5 or 6. But the Dolphins didn't even look bad. The thing is, though, is like the Dolphins, this isn't like a one-off game. Like the Chiefs losing, the Ravens losing. Like, okay, those teams finish 0-1, which they're going to be fine. The Dolphins, I think, it's only going to get worse. And I don't know where it gets better for this team, because Tyreek Hill is fuming on the sideline. He doesn't even want to play there anyway. And I just don't know where it goes from here with Miami. So that's definitely a little scary. The Colts, again, great game for you guys. Your first win in the home opener in like 11 years or something ridiculous like that. So, but I don't think this pace is going to keep up for Indianapolis at all. And the Dolphins, if they don't beat New England next week, and this kind of goes for New England, if New England loses next week, damn, is that going to be disappointing, especially for them. A lot of hype coming in there for them. But I just wanted to briefly talk about that game. There's not too much to talk about. The score spoke for itself, but the Dolphins could be falling apart faster than we thought. Next thing I want to talk about here, or next game I want to talk about here, is the Packers and Lions. People are really overreacting to this game. Packers looked amazing, but people are saying the Lions are done. Their Super Bowl window is closed. I don't think it's closed. It's shut a little more. The team is not what it was last year. But on week 1 against a team in Green Bay, a hated rivalry, and it just, with the Michael Parsons trade and the pass rush, it got to Jared Goff and it got to that Lions team. The noise, the everything, they were not ready for that. The Packers were so pumped coming into this game at home and everything. I think if the game was in Detroit, the game would have been different. But it being in Green Bay, with not even like 2 weeks after the Michael Parsons trade, you have a team with serious now Super Bowl aspirations. Everything was literally against the Lions that game. And it just looked like it. They just didn't look like they were in that game. Their heads were out of it, but the Lions are fine. The Lions are perfectly fine. I think when these two teams play against each other later on in the season, it's going to be different. Everything was going for the Packers here. No, I'm not taking anything away from Green Bay. Green Bay, what a football game. They really showed this team's going to be contending to get to a Super Bowl. They are. Jordan Love looks great. That defense was on another level, which is what we talked about. I was like, okay, this defense could be an issue for Green Bay. They went and got Michael Parsons, and now it looks like just the pass rush was killing that Detroit offensive line, and that Detroit offensive line was historic last year, maybe the best of all time. Like one of the best of all time. And yeah, I mean, Detroit just didn't look like they were in that game. They didn't, and they did nothing in their favor yesterday. They just didn't. Like I said, them being not at home, the Packers stadium felt different. Like I don't care who played in that stadium yesterday. I don't care if it was the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills. The Packers would have given anyone a hard time yesterday. They just were literally on it from the jump, dude. They were just. That team felt very amped and pumped yesterday, especially. But it makes it even worse. This is a hated rivalry division game, so I think the Packers would have beaten just about anyone in the league yesterday. So Lions are fine. Packers now we know are going to be very good. Lions, I think, are going to go on a stretch of winning a good bit of games here. They'll bounce back. So Lions fans or anyone who just watched the game at all or is concerned about the Lions, they'll be good. Next game I want to talk about here is the Raiders and Pats. Disappointing, especially as a Patriots fan. Geno Smith looked like Dan Marino out there. And this is the thing about Geno, and this is the thing for any quarterback, but especially Geno. You give Geno a clean pocket. He has weapons out there. Jacoby Myers should still be a Patriot, but they have Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Gentry out of the backfield, weapons everywhere. Max Crosby on defense. You give Geno a clean pocket. It's over. You're not going to be able to stop it. I mean, the Patriots secondary was terrible, and they still only lost that game by 7 points. Now the Raiders looked pretty good yesterday. They did. I do worry a little bit about Drake May. I'm starting to really want to see it. I think Patriots fans are too. That big breakout game. And I think this week against the Dolphins could be that game. Like we see what Daniel Jones did to that defense. It's time to see, okay, Drake May. It's time to step up in that limelight a little bit. And there's talk now. There's talk like, okay, Drake May, it's time to really get that. I think he's thrown an interception of every game of his career so far, or just about. And yes, last year I give him the benefit of the doubt. The team was abysmal to watch. I mean, it was a really bad team. Team's better this year. And it was week 1. The thing is with the Patriots, over 50% of the roster is new or just now playing for this team. Week 1, I don't care who you are. That's a tough assignment for anybody. They only lost the game by 7 points, but the offense didn't look great. Drake May has to get a little bit better of a feel for the touch of the ball a little bit. He had some balls up there floating. It didn't look great. Will Campbell in his first game, the offensive line looked way better than it did. Travion Henderson, kind of needs to break himself in a little bit. I think this team's going to be perfectly fine. There's a lot of people talking about, wow, we put way too much hype into the Patriots. That is dead already. I don't think so at all. Patriots are going to be fine. I think the Raiders have shown they're going to be competitive as well. Raiders, again, I had them around a 7-8-ish win team. Their division's way too tough, though. If they were playing in the AFC South, I think I'd have them winning that division over Houston and Jacksonville. And that's how good I think Las Vegas is. I mean, I think Las Vegas would win the AFC South, but I don't have that. Their division's too tough with Kansas City and Las Vegas and Denver. That's probably at least like 5 losses right there alone. I mean, that's hard, man. That's a hard ask. And like I said, I'd like to see a little bit more Drake May coming into this week. It's time to see the breakout game and the consistency from Drake May now. I think we'd all like to see it as Patriots fans, and everyone in the sports media would like to see it now. It's like, okay, we've been defending this guy. Let's go out there. Let's start seeing why you're the franchise quarterback now. And I think he will prove that next week. That is one of my bigger predictions for next week. I think Drake May's really going to go out there and prove, okay, I'm the guy, and it's time to show why. So, but Raiders, they had a great offensive game, man. Brock Bowers tore them apart. Christian Gonzalez not being there really hurt, and Raiders took complete advantage of that. So good for them. Raiders are going to be competitive this year in multiple facets. I think they're going to upset a lot of teams. The Raiders is going to be a heartbreaking team for a lot of people betting on games with the Raiders versus whoever. Raiders are going to have a good bit of upsets, I think, this year, and they're going to be very competitive. This is around an 8-ish win team, so that's going to be a team who's going to upset a lot of parlays and a lot of money lines. So, yeah, that was a good game nonetheless. But I'd like to see more from New England next week. Christian Gonzalez will be back. Game under this team's belt, which I think is good for them. So, and the Raiders with full momentum going into week 2. So both these teams have things to look forward to going into next week. So yeah, it was a solid game overall, but I'd like to see a little more from New England, of course. Next game I want to talk about is, or I guess the last game I'm going to talk about on yesterday's slate is the Falcons and Bucs. Really good game. That was a really good game. Michael Penix showed he's an NFL quarterback yesterday. Baker Mayfield, kind of an inconsistent game, kind of all around the mark. Ibuka, rookie receiver, went out there and showed it. And that's without Godwin out there. Imagine what that offense is going to do when Godwin is next to Evans and Ibuka. Ibuka, man, this is going to be borderline unstoppable, dude. Bucky Irving out there. Tristan Wirfs will be back. Dude, that offense is going to be a legitimate issue. That defense played well yesterday. I said one of the more underrated plays was when Antoine Winfield went out there. I don't know. I think it was like McLeod or whoever it was out there on the left side of the field the last few minutes of the game. He had a touchdown out there like it was no tomorrow. And he went out there and just made an amazing play. What a play. You have to go back and watch the highlight of that. I wish I could name it more or name the player for sure. But if you watch the game, man, that was a hell of a play. And the Bucs went out there and showed out, won that division game. Division games are huge. This game is going to look massive in Week 16. This game is going to look absolutely massive because I think the Falcons are going to be competitive. But one thing for the Falcons, I think the Falcons are going to be moving off Raheem Morris after this season. I'm not necessarily saying this game was Raheem Morris's fault, but for one, Younghoe Koo, I don't know what happened to that guy. He can't seem to make a game-winning kick at all to save his life now. He has not been very good for the Falcons, so I think they've got to look at getting another kicker. Falcons offense was moving. I think Drake London was out, which really hurt them. He was out for the last couple of drives. That hurt the Falcons immensely, but the Bucs have shown, even when their offense is not even fully healthy, and first week of the season, this team's going to be a real issue. That's a dark horse Super Bowl contender team for me. That was a great game. Bijan Robinson, that first drive of the game, he had that crazy 50-yard touchdown. And the one big story for me was if Michael Penix out there and stumped the joint up, that was not a good look for the Falcons. But he went out there and improved. He's a real NFL quarterback. There's some things he could improve on, of course, but everyone has something to improve, right? Not everyone's Lamar and Allen and Mahomes and Burrow. We all have stuff to improve on. But Penix, I think Falcons got a real quarterback back there, which is the main takeaway from this game. It was a great game. Penix showed he can play in high pressure situations. He showed it last year as well. Games like against the Commanders and stuff, they barely lose these games. So the Falcons just have to get over the hump of, okay, can we finally just win a close fourth quarter game? Because they can't seem to do it. So that was a really good game. I'll talk about the Commanders and Giants a little bit, actually. I'll just go for a few seconds because I really only want to talk about Russell Wilson. It's time to go on Jackson Dart or even James. I don't care who it is. It's time to just go on to somebody else. Russell Wilson is not an NFL starting quarterback anymore. He's in the most Jurassic drop-off for a starting quarterback in, I think, in NFL history. I mean, we've never seen anything like it. He went from a guy who was an all-pro MVP candidate to just, what the hell happened to this guy? I mean, that was really bad. Yesterday, the offensive line was bad. We all seen it, but not every offensive line is great. That's what people are saying. The offensive line doesn't have to be great. He runs into a lot of sacks, and Sean Payton said this about Russell Wilson on Denver. He doesn't see the open guy. Malik Neighbors was very frustrated. That's one of the big things going around. Russell Wilson has an issue finding the open receiver. And there's open receivers out there. He just does not throw the ball. Oftentimes he kind of tugs, he gets sacked, he runs into sacks, and he's not good to watch anymore. Russell Wilson's time is past in the NFL. The problem is with Russell Wilson, too, what the Giants kind of have right now is like, he's weird because his ego can't make him a backup quarterback. They're going to be like, okay, should we start Russell Wilson? Like, can we even put this guy on the bench? It's weird. He's in a weird situation. I don't even think he can be a backup quarterback. He's talented enough, obviously, to be a backup quarterback. But in terms of the stigma in your locker room and stuff like that, it's hard to justify him being your backup quarterback. So the Giants, I think I wouldn't even be surprised by next game if by halftime they're down 17-0. The offense looks completely just lifeless like it was this week. Jackson Dart may be in by the second half of next week. So there's a lot there to be desired. They have a hell schedule ahead of them. And I think Giants, what do you have to lose if you put in Jackson Dart? Seriously, what do you have to lose? You're going to lose with Russell Wilson in there. Your offense shows no signs of life. It's time to move off of Russell Wilson. I think it's time for Russell Wilson to hang up the cleats. That's for, I know it sounds drastic, but dude, it's time. It's been time to hang up the cleats now for a few years, dude. I don't even know if Russell Wilson goes again in free agency this year. Who the hell's going to pick him up? I don't know anyone who would pick him up. So we might be seeing the last of Russell Wilson here on New York, to be honest with you. Dude's really running himself out of the Hall of Fame. Yeah, he really is. Last thing I want to talk about here for a couple minutes is the Bears and Vikings tonight. I'm not going to get my win or anything because this game is, week one is so wonky. I talked about it before. I take everything with a grain of salt week one. The first couple of weeks, I take everything with a grain of salt. Divisional game. Vikings, we have no idea what we're going to get out of J.J. McCarthy. We literally have no idea at all. People are very 50-50. I'm very 50-50. McCarthy could turn out to be a disaster. I didn't like all the noise of them wanting to keep Sam Darnold, and that's not a good sign. If you've got the quarterback 6 overall, I think you want to keep him. I know Darnold played at an MVP pace, but they threw up a contract to Darnold. He didn't want it, and he moved on to go to Seattle, and them signing Wentz, I think the team is on the fence with McCarthy, which is a red flag. So we'll see tonight. Bears, again, a lot of hype coming into the season. The Bears always seem to have hype coming into a season. That could negatively go against them, which it seems to always do. So Bears and Vikings tonight, I think, is going to be a very, very, very good game. But that game could go either way. Divisional game, week one, especially with these two teams. The Vikings have a Super Bowl contending roster. But we are literally to the point we don't know about their quarterback at all in the NFL. And the Bears, Ben Johnson, first game head coach. This game is going to be a very good game, I feel like. I feel like this is going to be an extremely good game, but I'm not comfortable with taking a winner at all. If I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Chicago, to be honest with you. I think Ben Johnson, first game head coach, I think the offense is going to look better. I don't know what their defense is going to look like. Maybe they could take a step back. We'll see. So, yeah, that's what I think about the Bears and Vikings. I'm kind of excited to react to that tomorrow for a little bit. I think it's going to be a really fun game to react to. But for now, we're going to see a lot on the line here for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has an immense amount of pressure on him coming into the season, more than anyone, it feels like. So he has a lot to live up to this season. Yeah, he does, especially this game. This game, every game he has a lot to live up to, it seems like. So big game for the Bears, big games for the Vikings. Rookie quarterback pretty much still in McCarthy. So it's going to be an interesting game. If you guys don't have anything to watch, man, put on that Bears and Vikings game because that's going to be a fun game. Yeah, and that's it for today's episode. Tomorrow, updating my top 10 Tuesday quarterbacks, receivers, everything. So if you have it, be sure to turn on even those post notifications. Hit that subscribe button, man. We're pumping out content here every day for the NFL season. So if you enjoy rankings, reactions, sports betting, anything like that, it's all here on the Talk of the Town podcast. Hope you guys enjoy this episode, and everyone have a great rest of your day.